Of course, high school football, hopefully, right around the corner. Young men getting a chance to be at school in pods and work right now and try to get themselves prepared as coaches try to make sure that they get them prepared. It's strange times, to say the least. Everyone's enduring them. One coach that's endured a lot and done a great job since taking over as head coach at West St. John in 2015 after serving 9 years previously as an assistant there. Joins us now, and, of course, he guided the Rams to a state championship in terrific fashion in 2017 in Class 1A. He is Coach Brandon Walters. And, Brandon, listen, great to have you with us this evening. Welcome to the show.
Hello. How you doing? Hello.
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. How do you find yourself in these very unusual times that we find ourselves in right now?
Oh man, just trying to stay on the good side of everything. We just got back to work last week. And we're going to get back at it again this week. And we're just trying to get acclimated to all the new changes and the guidelines, as we have to keep ourselves separated and keep the guys safe and clean, and make sure that they're practicing proper sanitary measures, to stay safe.
Yeah, I'm sure that you're doing that. And I've maintained that I thought the schools were the best place all along, because there's no doubt schools are going to look out for these kids. And having supervision and discipline, I thought, was the way to go. I'm not blaming the LHSAA at all for following state guidelines, because that's exactly what they did. And yet I felt all along that they're better off with supervision rather than maybe getting together with a bunch of kids on their own and putting themselves in harm in that fashion. So to me, I've always felt like the school was the best place.
Yeah, with some structure in place, you do have some kind of a roadmap to follow, as opposed to just getting out there and winging it. We definitely is best to have some guidelines or stipulations and things that we can do to kind of keep us on the right path of what to do with the kids.
Being a McDonough 35 guy, I'd be remiss not to ask you to comment on my friend Wayne Reese and what he meant to the profession, what he meant, period, to young men. He's a special guy.
Oh, man, where do you begin? Mr. Wayne Reese was a great man to this city, to this state, to the game of football. All of the lives that he touched, all of the men that he's had a hand in making successful, is just tremendous. The things that you could say about him, what he's done for the game, and just the knowledge of the game that he had, and him being a mentor to so many people. Being able to touch so many lives. As a coaches, we can only hope to be, anywhere close to that, reach that status, in the profession. But he's definitely a great one, and will definitely be missed.
I know the answer to the question, because I was fortunate. I guess it just means I'm getting older. I was fortunate to have Eddie Robinson on my radio shows about 4 or 5 times. And to this day, he remains one of the truly nicest people that I've ever had a chance to talk to and then subsequently meet.
Yeah.
He was an unbelievably accomplished coach. But just what was Coach Robinson like to you?
Oh, you're talking about a class of 2 great men, and Eddie Robinson was, the epitome of class, of dedication, sincerity. He was so passionate about the game and what it meant to be young men growing up in America and trying to be positive about taking care of your family and being a good husband and, just walking the right path and being successful as young men. Those are one of the, some of the many things that he instilled in me and so many other friends of mine and former players. And, it's just mind-boggling, some of the things that you learn, being around a coach like that. Every day it was something. He kept us laughing. He was one of the most funniest people, you could ever be around, but he was super stern and disciplined, and when he spoke, he grabbed the room. When he walked in the room, they used to joke sometimes. They would start chanting, legend, 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 and, he didn't like that too much. And, but, it was just like walking amongst, greatness. And he just did so much also for the game of football, being the winningest coach in college football history, just being a part of that. traveling with him and getting off of airplanes and seeing so many people treat him, like royalty, and we were fortunate enough to get some of that trickle down to us, as an 18-year-old freshman, traveling, flying, and getting off the plane in Chicago at Soldier Field, and people walking up to ask for your autograph, was all because of him, and just playing for a school like Grambling and playing for a legend, Eddie Robinson. He's done so much for the game as well and touched so many lives, and I was fortunate enough to have that experience and be able to play for him.
Visiting with Coach Brandon Walters of the West St. John Rams. I mentioned the state championship, of course, in 2017. Last year was kind of a bittersweet season. You had a great year, earned the number 1 seed. You get to the quarterfinals. You're at home at Edgard. Not going to lose there. And, of course, then the unthinkable happened. I mean, my reporters at the game calling in reports, I'm like, oh, that's going to change. Oh, that's going to change. Oh, that's going to change. Oh, well, I guess it didn't change. Just got to give sport credit. They played well, came in and beat you. That's hard to do in your place.
Yeah, it's a sore spot for us. I look forward to the opportunity to get back in there and fight some more with them. But, we had beaten them the last 2 years previous and at their, once at our place and then once at their place. And, I know they had a real, some real revenge in their hearts and minds, and they came, with it and ready to play, and it just wasn't our night that night. And sometimes that happens in the game. You can put all your effort into it and preparation and stuff like that, and, it just doesn't go your way sometimes. And our kids, we try to teach them, that there's a bigger things in life than football, although on Friday nights it doesn't seem like much, much more is bigger than that. But, just got to get the kids to find the bright spots in those things, sometimes even in the losses, and build from them and, just get ready for next year. We'll be hungry.
Oh, I know how the fans are there. They love you win or win. I understand. I got it. I've been there. I've seen that one for a long time now, and used to always joke with DuPont about that years ago. It's like, yeah, man, sure, man. You can go 13-1, but hey, they're still going to let you have it. But there's something good about that. That fans are passionate. They care. And that's what's so special about a place like West St. John and really a lot of the entire river parishes.
Yeah, it's been pretty fortunate, a great experience so far. The kids, come up from the elementary school level, wanting to play on that field, to put on that royal blue. And, when they get to the high school, it's the best thing in town. On Friday nights, it's the best thing going. We have a huge following, great fan support, and, they believe in winning, and it's a tradition that stretches far beyond me. And, I'm just happy to be the guy that's carrying the banner, the flag, and trying to keep this thing rolling,
Brandon Walters is a gentleman, a really good guy, a good mentor for young men, and this is probably as big a time as ever to be that guy, to be a voice of reason, and to really provide leadership, because right now a lot of young people, I find they're either confused or they're angry or they're sad based upon what's happening in the world today. How do you go about the business of trying to mentor young men given the circumstances of the sea change that we're starting to see all around?
Well, I think, you have to keep some consistency with them. The greatest thing for us is to be able to get back there to school, and to get back into a routine, some semblance of normalcy, with the guys, and, the routines of practices and being around each other. Even with the rules in place, they still get to, socialize and fraternize with each other. And I think that does wonders for them, to be back at school and just have things different from them just being kind of locked up at home, for the past 3 months or so. It gives them an outlet, to kind of release some of that energy. It gives them a positive, venue to channel that stuff toward. And it just provides a great opportunity for them, In the middle of all of this, it's still sports, and being able to play, any sport provides an opportunity for the kids to kind of take their minds off of some of the challenges that some of them may have been faced with, family members that's sick or maybe have lost, and it just gives them a sense of back to normal, for them in a small aspect of it in the middle of all of this.
Growing up in the New Orleans area, going to school in New Orleans, How much racism did you encounter? Was it something that was prevalent growing up, or was it something that was kind of beneath the surface or just close by but not affecting you? How much did you encounter?
Um, to be honest, got it in several, layers of this, of what you just described. Some of it was covert, some of it was overt. Some of it was right there in front of you, and some of the experiences growing up, as young men in the city, as just traveling on that RTA bus and catching that broad to St. Bernard and traveling from all the way to McDonald 35 to New Orleans East is a challenge in and of itself, back in the 90s. But, there definitely were some really tough experiences that kind of prepared you for life. And, it's tough that, we have to go through those things. And I'm glad to see that the changes that are taking place, be that as it may, because of the sport, and Mr. George Floyd and what happened with him. He's a catalyst for the change that's taking place. But I believe it's a truly positive thing and a change in the right direction. Growing up also in the city and then becoming a teacher in the public school systems, you kind of see a lot of things that people talk about, some of the disparities and what kids have and kids should have, on a broad spectrum in education and so on. So, yeah, I've definitely witnessed a lot of it, and hopefully the things that are taking place will provide the change that's needed, and it'll be something that's consistent and not just right now. It'll take place and carry on and something that'll be positive for years to come.
I think you have such a great chance to make a difference because you can teach kids. They're very impressionable at the high school age. I don't think there's any doubt that you can help shape that and to try to get them to a good place in life, because I've always believed that discrimination and racism were taught behaviors. Because
Yes.
when you're 10 years old,
Yes.
who thinks like that? Nobody
Right.
does.
Right.
Even
I agree.
when you're 13 or 14, and yet when you get to be a young adult, why are you like that?
Yes.
And because to me, you're like that because it's what you saw or what you were taught. And
Yeah.
that's why I think you have such a chance to make a huge difference in positive fashion.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of it has to do with, the way we bringing our children up, the way some of us have been brought up, like you said, to be taught that way and to think that way when it may not naturally occur, and we have to provide, knowledge and experience and the right guidance to young men that we come across and young ladies, that we come across in the athletic program, and just try to be that model for them, that they see of positivity, in whatever way you can, try to teach all of the kids that, regardless if you're an athlete or not, to try to strive to go beyond high school and college and try to, achieve something in a professional level, learn a trade or a skill to something that to help you, to get you along the way, because life is tough with or without, guidance. But when you do have it from the right people and it's channeled and pushed in the right direction, your chances of being successful are a lot better.
About a minute or two left with Brandon Walters of West St. John. We hear a lot of the coaches we've had on have talked about, well, their parents had to have the talk with them about what happens if you get stopped by police. And for people like me, that's hard to comprehend because I haven't experienced that. And I don't really understand how or why any of that takes place. Did that happen with you, and have you had any incidents that you could speak of?
Well, looking back and, just thinking about all the things that have been taking place, it definitely opens your mind and takes you back to places and experience that you've had. And for me, being a big guy, I don't know if I was a threat, but I've been stopped many, many, many times, in the city, in areas around for whatever reasons. But, the experiences weren't always favorable. But, it's just tough to deal with stuff like that, But I've definitely, I have 3 sons, and I've had to have the talk with them as well. I worry for them. You know, they're older now in their 20s, but still, you just never know what's on people's minds when you get pulled over, and it's just tough to deal with stuff like that, but it is a reality for many, many, many people.
Final thought before we let you get away. What about the 2020 Rams? I'm assuming we're going to play football, and I'm sure hopeful that that's going to be the case. So with that in mind, tell us about your team for the coming year.
Oh, I think we're going to be really good. We're pretty young. We've lost a good bit of guys last year, but we have a great nucleus of kids that have been here and that have played. We have a young, hungry bunch of guys that are eager to play and eager to be successful as well. So I think this will be a growing year for us, but not an off year for us. I think we're gonna make some noise and continue to turn some heads and be some problems for people. So our goal is always the same. Hopefully everything goes well with this season, and we'll get to play to the end of this thing, and hopefully we're somewhere around the top, if not the top.
What else would you expect from West St. John football? It's seemingly where the Rams are on an annual basis, so anything less would be a surprise. So we're all looking forward to the season, first of all, and always looking forward to seeing your teams because they play extremely well, play hard, and you and your staff do a great job of coaching them, too, and you're a class act.
Thank you.
Brandon Walters, we appreciate you. Thanks so much for the time. Keep up the good work. Stay safe, and let's all get to that good place in life with each other and get to that good place back on the football field as well.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Trahan. I appreciate the opportunity.
Always a pleasure, Brandon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brandon Walters of West St. John High School. We'll take a time out.